Hi, my name is Tracy Spears, and I'm continuing my conversation with Wally Schmader, my business partner in Exceptional Leaders Lab. So let's talk a little bit about our partnership and how it came about. I get this, it's so fun that you're here to help me answer some of these questions, but, we have worked together for 30 years now.
Yeah, one way or another, yeah.
Isn't that, so when we started working together.
And we're both in our 40s,
I know, right?
Early 40s, so it tells you.
Do you think we lose credibility when we say that we've been working for 30 years together? Do you think we lose it?
I got that advice the other day where I had a thing on one of our promotional things that said 30 years of, coaching and leadership experience with CEOs, and they say, you know what this means? And I go, what? Because you're old. That's all you're saying there. So maybe we just say lots of.
Okay.
Yeah, we've been working together for a long
like
time.
That.
But
all right.
30 years is a long time.
It is a long time. So we've packed a lot in 30 years, but in the organization we were in, we weren't really working that closely together. It was a pretty big company.
Yep.
Until the last few years, I guess.
Yeah, so we had the thing where you worked in a distance and saw each other once a year or so, but had a strange connection about knowing we'd work together at some time. Admired your work and definitely paid attention and tracked your career there at that big company. This is a company that had about 800 people that we worked in and among, so it'd be easy to not know each other during that time. And then worked as, you were on my team for a while.
I was going to say, I reported to you.
Yep. Probably the best thing that ever happened to you. And then we...
Seriously, there's no question, but not for the reason. You were such an amazing champion for me. And I learned so much. I was always, so the way our company was set up, and you'll know this, but I live in the middle in Oklahoma, and so you were on the East Coast, and then there was obviously the West Coast. So the West Coast part of our company was this very, nuts and bolts, do these things to be successful.
Yeah.
On the East Coast was all this, very esoteric, leadership is an art, and so in the
cerebral out there.
Yeah. Said differently. So in the middle, I got this nice, combination. But I
thought it was mostly substance abuse.
Yeah.
Wasn't that sort of the theme in the middle?
Well, yeah, it was. They called us the 12-step division, but it wasn't because of me.
Right. Understood.
No, yeah, not my thing. But yeah, we had a bunch of young, very, very young.
Yeah.
But it was fun.
Sure, it was.
We had a good time. Yeah. But so you represented this for me, kind of that, what I wanted to be in a leader. I could produce like crazy.
Sure.
And kept getting promoted because of being able to produce. But I got to a point in leadership where somebody actually said to me, we're not sure you should be in leadership role because your people aren't producing. And that was a huge change for me.
Yeah.
So.
And you were kind of a playing coach, right? At that
For sure.
time. That's why I would have thought about you in the best possible. Yeah, which is a compliment, right? A playing coach. You're the best producer on your team, and it was hard to scale that. Like
yes.
a lot of leaders out there have that same thing, especially in sales leadership roles. But yeah, it was fun to watch how quickly you progressed. And for a while, we were peers, both doing the exact same thing in executive roles at this company, in the same meetings, the same phone calls, and all of that. And then we got apart again. So, leading it up to the infamous text story.
Oh, are we going to tell it?
Yeah, I think so. It's almost, the pain is starting to wear off a little bit now. Yeah, so you want to tell it?
Oh my God, no, you tell it.
So I'm sitting there one day, and at this point our company had it felt a little, I don't know what the experience would be, but it felt a little toxic for people in our roles because a lot of people had been rolled out. So we were sure that our turn was going to come, but we just kept going to work every day.
40% of the people
were gone.
Yeah, we're gone, yeah.
And so one day I'm on a call, I'll tell you what call in a second, and I get this text from Tracy that says, I just got fired. And the call that I was on, I was in the process of getting fired. I was in the middle of a conversation getting fired. So I text back, of course, because I already know how the phone call's going, I'm getting fired right now. And you text back, are you fucking with me?
Totally.
And then it started, but yeah, the same day.
I was blown away that we got fired on the same day at the same
a few minutes
time. Yeah. That blew, but your firing took a lot longer. Like you were on there forever. I was so stunned when they said, and I don't know why I was stunned. I knew for a year and a half it was coming, and they said it's coming, and you want to go take another job within the company, and I was like, no. But when the day happened, I was devastated.
I knew you were in bad shape.
I was in bad shape. Yeah, I was like, choking. I literally was like, I don't even know what to say. They're like, do you have any questions? And I was like, I was muted the whole call because I was just weeping. And then you were like, that was awesome. Like when you called me, I couldn't believe how cavalier you were about it.
Oh, well, to me, it felt like a final, like a mercy killing, because I knew it was coming. You
Yeah.
know, I don't want I'd rather have the firing squad than the injection. You know, just come on, let's
Yeah.
get this. And once you figure out it's coming, that's the way I felt it. And so then I could
Yeah.
turn the page and get to the what's next. I know I got there faster than you did, but I think that what
Yeah.
you did, the morning that you did, and the feelings you had were probably useful at that time.
Well, and you know what's funny is, so when that happens, you're in this company. We were in that company for a super long time, and really those people that are, some of them still there, the people we worked with were family in so many ways.
Yeah.
And then like your emails cut off, and all of a sudden, and then you don't hear from anybody, and then we should write something in one of our blogs or books about who should reach out to who at the end, because I was like, do I take the time to write,
Right. And this company that wasn't great at everything was super great at firing people, right? So you got cut off from like in minutes. I have no email, no benefits, right? I can't log into my payroll. I mean, nothing. It's like, you disappeared. So they made it as rough as it could possibly be. So So you have to go find your connections because they're taken from you and go from there. So
that was the big surprise though, that they cut my benefits off immediately, and like there was no till the end of the month or nothing. Like it just blew my mind.
Right.
So
well, you're only there 26 years. What's the big deal?
29.
Quit whining.
I know. Yeah, we're going to downplay how many years we worked together.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah.
Right.
But don't you think that through that process, like I have spoken to how many thousands of people in different audiences, and you hear people say and talk about how they were RIFT, reduction in force,
Right.
and all that, and you talk about what it is, but to live through that, then it's a completely different experience.
And it wasn't one that either of us had on our resume before that, so I'm glad to have that. I know people have had that happen to them multiple times, and in situations where they were or weren't surprised by it, and it does a lot, right? Self-esteem blast. You immediately think you're less valuable than you were, which puts you in a horrible position to go look for another job.
Yeah.
We knew what was coming next, luckily, so let's transition to that. So we were able to start.
But I want to say this before we transition.
Yeah.
I was so glad we got fired at the same time, because if I would have been fired and you not been fired, that would have been devastating. Just kidding.
Yeah, I'm still here. I mean, they're keeping all the good people. I don't know what happened to you. Oh well, what's next?
I do think it was the right thing, though, right? Because go ahead. We'll transition.
It was the best possible thing that could happen for the business, right? Because all of a sudden we both, who are doing something very much part-time, weekend and early morning work together, wrote the first book while employed on the weekends and very early morning sessions every week, like we talked about. But it was the best possible thing, because I was like, okay, spring load, for whatever's next.
I was surprised how many people were like, oh, you wrote a book and you have a job. Like what their perception is that we were writing on the clock. They had no idea.
A couple people.
Yeah, that we were literally holed up in a hotel on a weekend trying to finish things, or that we
could have asked our partners about that, because
Yeah.
it took away from some family time and some things that would have been nice to do. I think I told you that. I had a routine where I would check myself into hotels on the weekends to write, so I wasn't distracted by my home life, which says something, right?
Yeah.
That had to, just to get things done.
I know.
Which sounds crazy when I say it out loud now, but it felt very normal.
Yeah. You would do that anyway. There's just to be alone, wouldn't you?
Probably. I know I have a house like 100 yards from here. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and check in this hotel. Well, so the working relationship then, that changed. It didn't change the dynamic at all. We pretty much always worked together the same way, but it gave a little bit more weight and momentum to it at that time. How would you describe how we worked together?
I think like that our relationship is perfect mostly in that your strengths are so different than my strengths. And so I think that the way we had a lot of time to try to at least figure that out.
And we both tried it with other people.
Yes.
Right? I failed with other partners
too.
because of that non-complementary skill set thing, which is,
But we're pretty good to stay in our lane. And I know whenever I try to get out of my lane and boss you around about content and all that, you don't like it, and rightly so. But
let's do a whole podcast about that.
Well, but that's the other thing I think that makes it work, is that we're not afraid to, not hurt each other's feelings, but to say, really what's going on.
Right.
And we can hang up. I mean, I have a few hangovers from some of those, conversations, but I'm so grateful we can have them, right?
Yeah. Well, and I know it, like this will sound weird, but from your side of it, I feel like I could argue your point really well. Like, listen, you don't even get in front of the audience.
Yeah.
You're not even delivering these things. I don't care how long you're in that room with the door closed. It's how this gets delivered is the key thing. So I'm making the decision. I mean, like if I were you,
Yeah.
I know exactly how that would sound, and so I'm sympathetic. I don't want to hear any of that.
Yeah, no, ever.
But
Ever.
I'm certainly, and I know eventually it has to be, not everything that comes out is going to be audience ready, and so that's your job for sure.
But what you're wicked good at is I can pick up the phone and call you and say, okay, this question came from the audience, and before I get on the plane and back home, you have redone a section to incorporate it. Like, I remember recently somebody said, well, what would a script be like? How would you set that conversation up for someone? And like I got back and there were like 2 slides with detail, referenced resources and research and all that.
Yeah.
I mean, that I would never do that.
Yeah. Well, the feedback, and we get so much of our content from the audience, right? To say, I need a way to say that, or this all looks great, but how do I start it?
Yep.
And so the more actionable. So I love that stuff. So whenever you have those, please share them.
I know, and I hate for you that you don't get to hear all of that. When people go, oh my gosh, I've used this and this is what happened,
Yeah.
or and it's starting to happen now that I'll go, to an audience and somebody's been there before, or there's, it's.
Yeah, I love it when you share those with me. But you're right, I definitely miss that.
Yeah.
I don't get nearly as much. I get it for the book. I get lots of good things about that, but audience reactions, I depend on you to hear those things because it affects how we develop the content, and it's also great just for self-esteem. It makes you feel good about.
Well, and you're such a great speaker. It just blows my mind you don't want to speak.
I just don't like it. It's not fun for me. So I appreciate you saying that. But like I wouldn't aspire to have a career like that. I don't, whatever good that speakers get from doing it, I don't feel it as much.
So funny.
I'm just glad it's done.
Yeah.
So the good feelings I have at the end, no matter what kind of audience response I get, is the feeling of now that's over.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Well, I have the same feeling when it's over, but I am so energized by the process of that. But when I first saw you speak, so you would have been mid-20s.
Yeah.
Me too. And you got up and everybody had a 30-minute time slot, and you literally gave your speech in 6 minutes. There's no BS here.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, whatever he said, I think it was really good. Like I was trying to write everything.
Probably good. I don't know.
We
Well,
weren't recording.
If your objective is to be done, 6 minutes is about right. So,
you were that guy though. You were known as whatever he says, it's going to be really good, but you've got to listen closely. So
my mission, purpose, and successfully achieved was to find somebody to say that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go. And
Right.
Stretch it to 30 minutes.
Yeah, stretch it 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Find audiences, and then go around the world doing it. So that's you.
That's
So
funny.
yeah, no, I don't think we have any intersecting ambitions at all, except for the outreach, getting the message out, and hopefully people can leverage things. I don't want to do anything you're doing at all, and I know you're not interested in what I do, so it's perfect.
I enjoy the writing. You do most of the writing, but I enjoy my little like stories, here and there, and I'm sure you read some of them on my blog.
Yeah,
So
for sure. And you're very creative. And
I think you read them and go, we're never putting that in the book or whatever.
I'm sure I feel the same way that you do when I speak.
Really?
Yeah, just like, okay, that's pretty good, but I would have done this and I would have done that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Just like technical things. Not he's a bad speaker or she's a bad writer, but yeah, that's pretty good. I don't know if I would have used 6 exclamation points there.
You're so sensitive to exclamation points. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Like one time you sent back an email to me and you had like all these exclamations. I'm like, what is that about? And then I went and looked at mine and I go, you like did exactly the same number that I did.
So she
but
puts
it
all
looked
these.
obnoxious.
It was obnoxious. So you had 1,000 exclamation points this thing. So I sent them all back to you because I wasn't going to use them.
That's exactly.
Is that mean spirited?
You do that to me often though. Like
Yeah.
I have to be very you won't even, and I now know this, and I just figured it out, to not call you the minute I get off the stage. You're not answering the phone. Is that intentional?
Oh no, I like
Really?
that.
Okay.
No, I love hearing all that.
Okay,
That's
well,
not intentional at all.
I thought that because sometimes you're like, okay, well, you can just dial it down a little
Yeah.
bit. And
No. I want that energy.
Okay.
That's definitely just a schedule thing. Maybe I'm on another call or something. But I love it, and I like the text when you say that how you did and everything. So now I want to hear, and I don't get that, right?
Yeah.
So I need that. But there's something I don't like.
Okay, I thought you intentionally were like, this is going to be way too much energy.
Oh no.
So I'm going to
No,
let
no.
her get in the cab or the
Yeah.
Uber. And,
Well, I know I'm not. You're not going to get the feedback. Like here's things that I would change, or here's something that the sponsor said. Those aren't going to come out of that. But I love the exhale. It's
Okay, good.
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't get that in what I'm doing. So.
Well, that story I made up untrue. That's good.
No.
I'll start calling you again.
Yeah, call me.
All right.
But the other story is true, that when I send you back the exclamation points, it's because we had a surplus.
I know it's so all of those little communication things, like you get in a rhythm with someone, over time.
Yeah.
And you start to learn, what to do and what not to do. But we probably need to do a better job of even talking about like communication amongst leaders and all that, because
Probably.
that conversation that you would send them back, there's a lot of people that wouldn't send them back, and they would just, discount the person that's sending it.
Yeah.
I think that happens a lot.
Probably. I just think it's super funny.
Yeah.
But the thing I know for sure, I don't think either one of us are easy to work with at all. Like,
Really?
I don't think I could work with just anybody. I think I'd just be a pain in somebody's butt, and they wouldn't want to work with me at all,
Totally.
because I've got angular parts of my personality, and you're not easy
No,
all the time.
for
So,
sure.
newsflash.
Yeah.
Right? So, I think it's good that, and there's some
That's
safety
true.
in there, and we do get on each other's nerves sometimes, and maybe that's why the distance works.
Maybe it helps us.
But it's mostly, and I want people to hear this because it's so important. It's
Yeah.
really important. This work
Right.
is really, really important, and we want to get it right. And when we fight, it's about getting it right.
For sure.
A difference in what you think is the best way to deliver this in a way that'll stick, and my idea of what's the best way. So it's all in the audience's best interest, whatever friction we have, and that's how I live with it.
I can't imagine it not being like that. Like, I think the partnerships before, like, the part that's hard, Minnie, to work with me is I feel really right, or I'm not even talking about it. But I might change my mind in the middle of being really right, and I end up somewhere else. And so, but you're able to stay in in with me until we get to the end. Some people get attached.
I'll be on the phone and you'll disagree with yourself and come to a whole different thing by the end of it.
Right.
And so I learned not to get in that. The thing that drives me crazy
Oh gosh.
is just the lid. I don't know where you keep the lid on when something's done.
Yeah.
You would take a long time to put that lid on. Like a
Oh,
presentation
sure.
leading up to the thing, like it really was done like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But there's something about, and I know it's all with the best of intentions. You want it to be as good as it can possibly be, but
Yeah.
just edit, little teeny thing. Like it doesn't matter at all, really. But another little thing, taking this out, I want to put it back in. It was green, now it's red.
That's
Just
true.
things like that. And it seems like it doesn't bother me in that I know that you're working on something, but it seems like it would drive you crazy
Oh.
to keep that lid off as long as you do.
Yeah.
And it's like you're a daredevil with it. Like you're touching things the morning of sometimes, which is,
Yeah.
how do you pull it off?
Yeah, I moved slides around
I know.
during the women's thing the other day. Yeah. I don't know. It's I think that I need to be better. It's only really backfired on me once.
Okay.
And it backfired on me because the original was perfect, and then I started overthinking it. So I changed it all, got in front of the audience, and realized, holy shit, this is not. I should not have changed anything.
I'm
And-
surprised that's only happened once.
Well,
because
and 20 minutes in, I said, I got to take a break. I need to reshuffle the deck. I
Okay.
just was transparent about it. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah,
and
you
I
keep
literally, yeah.
Like I could never, and it works out, but keep it
You-
in flux as long as you do.
Well, but you don't revisit anything. You're like, look, we did that, and so
well,
it's
it's because
done.
of all the time. Like I'm saying, I'm going to dedicate this much time for this. Like we're working on the new presentation, working on a generational presentation that we think is going to be better than what's out there, right?
Mhm.
So it's important that it's the newest information,
Yeah.
right, with the most up-to-date descriptors and understandings of how these, this amazing thing that's going on where 4 generations are in the workplace at the same time. It's never happened in the history of the world,
Is it
ever.
4 or 5?
4, they're not going to.
5.
Well, those old ones really, they're not really at work anymore.
The traditionalists,
statistically.
they are. They're coming back. I'm not going to disagree with you on
Yeah.
camera, but
Yeah,
say
it's like
4 to 5. We'll say 4 to 5.
yeah, but they're they're a nominal percentage now on
True.
the new stuff, but like it's less than 1% on most of the things I see. So, but 4 active. I mean, they're people like you're working. If you work in a business, this is something I read the other day that has more than 20 employees. You're probably with 3 or 4 other generations.
Isn't it?
20 employees.
Yeah.
So that's never happened. No one's worked with their kids, fathers, and grandfathers.
True.
Ever. And it's because people are living so long and people need to work, and it's only going to increase because there's no pensions. And,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Retirement's going to keep getting moved back. Social Security keep getting moved back. So this is serious stuff, and it's going to affect what career paths look like, what promotions look like, how long people stay in jobs. I mean, it's a total cultural game changer.
Right.
So I'm saying all that to say that there's no amount of precision that is enough to tell that story
Yeah.
at all. So by the time I send something to you and say, okay,
Oh.
this is smoking, I can't wait for you to get out there. And what I get the most satisfaction out of is your report back on how it went. That's
Yeah.
what I'm waiting on. Not what you thought about the deck so much,
Yeah.
although that's nice. But when you come back and say, man, that was a
It crushed
barn burner, yeah, that's one of the greatest hits now. And so
Yeah.
that's why I get a little bit antsy when you say, well, let's slide all these slides around. I'm going, Sister,
I know.
this took me 27 hours. You know?
Yeah.
And I always tell you how long it took.
Yes, you do. You're very good to let me know.
Yeah.
You are, and I will be better about that. Not only to honor you, but because it takes a lot of my energy.
Well, I'm asking you why you do it for yourself, because I can see in stress,
Yeah.
right? Like I saw the run up for the women's summit we did here, and how much you were putting on yourself to move things and add things and delete things, and we end up with more content than we can do,
Yes.
which is the net of all that probably, right? So
But
the
as
audience missed something.
Yeah, but as a speaker, that's always my goal, which is, so maybe this is it, is that I want them to want more,
Right.
but I never want to be with an hour to go and go, well, I can't think of anything else to say today. Like that would be the word, right? So I always have like an entire second presentation prepared.
Right.
I don't know why that would happen, but I will tell you one thing it benefited us. I finished a keynote, and the speaker that was supposed to speak right after me got sick and could not speak. And the lady came up and said,
Can you do it?
I know this is short notice, and you're going
Really short notice?
Yeah, you're going to say no, but the next speaker is now sick and cannot speak. And I literally did my so that one time, it was beneficial.
What it feels like to me, and this goes back to the Elton John, Bernie Taupin relationship, is that you're getting ready to do a concert, and you're just thinking maybe that in Benny and the Jets, if you did just a little bit of Tiny Dancer right in the middle of that. Like I know people, it's kind of rocking, you're doing Benny and the Jets, but hold me close, right in the middle of that, and then go back to the other one, then maybe a little Lucy in the Sky. I don't know, let's put that in front.
That's true.
That's what it feels like.
Well, that's what it feels like for me, just so you know.
And I think that's sometimes what right?
The audience
is going,
yeah.
Benny and the Jets, please, right?
Right.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But I'm sure that doesn't happen.
That's funny. That's fun. Well, let's not continue down the list of things that irritate each other. You want to?
No, I like that.
You do?
That's creative. That's the creative friction that makes I think that's where creativity comes from, is that kind of thing. If we were, I thought that too. Yeah, I agree with that. All of a sudden we're not putting out anything.
We've never had that relationship.
Yeah.
Thank God. I mean, literally, I remember one time getting a text from you. We were on a conference call. I know you're going to remember it. And it said, settle down, sister. Make your point logically. And I remember looking at that and going, oh, okay. Like I never have ever gotten attached to our conversation in a way that it would affect our friendship.
Yeah.
And I think that's unique, and I think that I wish I could have that relationship with more people. Like I want to mix it up and duke it out and all that, and know that we're doing that about a topic and not about that the relationship is completely intact.
Right. And that's important because there's a lot of security in that, or an insecurity if it felt like it was breaking or not right. And that text, just to clarify, we're working together and we're peers at this point and trying to pay attention to where our shots are landing and where influence is leaking. And in some cases I'd do something like that for you, like, hey, don't oversell this, or don't go first, whatever. And you'd do the same thing for me, like, hey, you need to weigh in a little bit heavier here, or you need to get out of this conversation because you're going to lose. It's interesting. I wish everybody could have that kind of thing where you're a peer for a while, just to see how you really are landing and how you're presenting yourself and showing up, because it's never what you think it is. And what you do naturally is not always the right thing.
For you've been good to pick up the phone and say these things to me. I haven't had to do that with you that often. Yeah. Yours is only that you don't want any superfluous extra conversation, or yours is all about getting to the point and being done. And your advice back to me is all about quit doing all that conversation. So we see that in each other.
And probably the middle is the right place. Between
I think so.
Those two things, for sure.
I think that's true.
So continuing the conversation about the working relationship. So far so good, right? So what would you say would be some things that would be goals for you, like in our relationship and how it develops over time and how this outreach continues to expand? Would you change it? Do you think having more reports, now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people on the team, we know it's going to grow. Do you think that's going to be a challenge or easy?
I think it's going to be both. I think it's going to be easy in that we have the right people. I feel super excited about that and who they are and what they bring. I think it's going to be hard in that there's a lot of demands that they will have. I don't think that's your superpower, to be the one that's feeding all that. And I think I'm going to be on a plane, so it's going to be hard. So I think creating that response, just being transparent, that response time. I think Melissa gets to play a big role. We're super fortunate, that Melissa is part of our organization now. I think the better we can do at delegating and bringing her along. I think that's going to be a secret, don't you?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think there's going to be roles for strangers, people we don't know yet, on the
Yes.
team that
Agreed.
will do things that we're not going to be able to do or don't know how to do.
Yep.
So we're anxious to meet those people and see what they can do to push our lid up in
Yeah.
terms of what we can do to get our messages out.
I think our big challenge is not thinking big enough. Like I now feel this incredible pressure. Like I am always, talking about this super big stuff that's going to happen, and you're the realist that's like, yes, but right now you need to brush your teeth, or like you're just that, today, like all those,
Well,
little.
that's good. That's another complimentary.
I know,
Right.
but I wonder, like, what's like the biggest thing you could see happening from this partnership, from the book, the organization? What would be the biggest thing you could see?
Well, the biggest thing, I think it's scaling up what we're doing. So the biggest thing, leadership development is its own thing, right? It's contained. It can only grow so big. There's lots of people that have made a huge difference over the years with leaders. And I'd like to be the one that gave really practical advice, like really actionable, practical
Yeah.
advice. And that our brand came to be that the Exceptional Leaders Lab is where you go to get the scripts, right? To get the stuff that you need to drive things and improve in your business. For me, the big picture would be outcroppings of that, like some of the stuff you're doing around advocacy.
Yeah.
I'd like to start working with younger people around goals and how they can develop themselves earlier in life, maybe even at school age. I think there's a lot of things that can come out of that end up being sort of collateral, branded ELL outreach that magnifies what we can do. But there's so much to do just with leaders.
Yeah.
You could spend your whole life doing that. Lots of people do. But I'm really anxious to see what the reflection of all the work looks coming back to us, like as we grow the number of people we're connected to,
Yeah.
start doing these live things, have a lot more closer relationships with our clients.
Yeah.
All of them are kind of at a distance now when you're selling them books and doing videos. So that's a big answer. But there's just so many. I mean, there's nothing. The only thing I think that would slow it down would be to forget some of those intermediary parts, like to don't forget to do this because then we can't do that.
Yeah.
Don't forget to do this. And that's why sometimes I'll try to rein you back in a little bit. Say, yeah, that's super important. I love that. I'm inspired. But remember, we got this work. There's some blue collar stuff in here that we need to focus on. How about you?
I mean, my super big vision is that, we've got half of the Fortune 500 companies using our material, that we've got 10 million people that are watching our online courses.
Yeah.
That we've sold, well over, 1 million copies of the books, like that.
So bigger stuff. Because we've got
Yeah, totally.
we have 5 of the Fortune 500 now,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which is 8%. Right.
We could say, for sure.
Yeah.
But think about just even, the smaller companies where I think we can make the biggest difference the fastest too, right? That if we had all, like the small business, whatever's that, we were known as the leadership track that you need to grow your business
Right,
too, like,
yeah.
because we could hit it from
Push them
both.
through this thing, get them
Totally.
certain. Some of the intercompany stuff we're doing where we're training trainers, ELL certified trainers that work within their own companies. We've got a few really great partners like that, and that's a great way to push things around and make a difference with people. So yeah, I can see all of that, and it's going to be interesting. I wish we could fast forward 5 years from now. Some of this we're going to be all wrong on, and it's going to be something that we really didn't think was going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Right, that ends up being the big deal.
I think that's true.
We've found that again and again with some of the content pieces, like some of the presentations and workshops have not been the ones I thought would take off the way they have. Like the branding, developing your personal brand, that has become a much bigger piece of what we do than I imagined it would be.
Yeah.
By a long shot. Like that's probably your most delivered
I think so.
presentation right now.
And my favorite one. It's so fun to deliver.
Yeah, it is fun. But that's been interesting, and I'm curious to see the personal board of directors content has been way more popular than I imagined, and that's we've seen other people using some of these things, which is another way to multiply. But
Yeah. Well, like think about how we got into the Department of Housing and Urban Development.
right,
So they go online and they're looking for a book that has the word exceptional in the title because they want to theme their meeting around exceptional leadership, and so that pops up.
Right.
And so then they call a guy that happens to have been in an MGMA meeting speaking that I was at, and so all of a sudden,
yeah, I'm sure that just keeps that kind of stuff happens.
know, yeah.
And there's a lot of those we don't ever hear about, right? That are just out there floating around that the dots never got connected. But there's got to be more and more of that.
I think so.
The HUD thing, I didn't think we'd be doing anything like that. I never even aspired to do government training. That was never on the. So that's an introduction of something, a wild card coming in that could be. And you've already got another gig set with them, I know.
Yeah.
And it went really well.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the unintended or unanticipated things will be more exciting.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be the big things. The speaking stuff, I'm just so amazed at the progress. Tracy's gone from having, 1 or 2 gigs a year 6 years ago
True.
to not a single week without a gig in it,
Yeah.
sitting here in 2018, and people, great clients, wanting to borrow you for an hour to talk,
Yeah.
and you can't find one.
I know.
So that's incredible. And you're scheduled deep into 2019 already, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, so that's fantastic.
Yeah,
That says a lot about your personal brand as a speaker too.
Well, thank you. Yeah. It's been I think just the perfect combination, and I'm grateful for our partnership.
Me too. Yeah, let's see where it goes.